The first story should hopefully be familiar. We've just finished telling it. It's the story of Jesus' life. I've got 7 pictures here to help remind us. The first picture, Jesus was born. Do you remember all the way back to Christmas? We celebrated the good news that Jesus had been born, that God had come to earth in human form, and he would be the promised one who would save us all and bring peace and healing to the world. The second picture is when Jesus got lost as a boy. One of the few stories from Jesus' childhood was that his parents lost him after a trip to Jerusalem. After searching high and low, they found him in the temple, talking with the priests and teachers there. He said to them, "Why are you surprised to find me in my Father's house?" When Jesus grew up, he got baptized. Jesus was baptized by his cousin John the Baptist. At his baptism, God spoke his affirmation and approval. "This is my Son, in whom I am well pleased." And Jesus was blessed by God. After his baptism, Jesus went into the desert, where he was tempted by the devil and discovered more about who he was and what his work on earth was going to be. Jesus' parables. This picture reminds us that Jesus' work involved lots of storytelling, we call them parables, to help people understand more about God. And also moments of healing for people with all kinds of illnesses that kept them on the edges of society. In our 6th picture, Jesus offers bread and wine. Here we remember the last few days of Jesus' life, when he returns to Jerusalem with his friends and they celebrate the Passover supper together. He offers them bread and wine as a way to remember the story of what was about to happen. And finally, Jesus is Easter. The last picture shows us that Jesus became Easter by dying on the cross and rising to new life 3 days later. A few days ago, we also remembered that he left the earth and ascended to heaven, taking the promise of Easter from one moment in time to be truth for all of eternity. Can you see how I've arranged these in a circle? We started with Jesus coming down from heaven. We go through his life and end up with Jesus going back up to heaven. The second story is the story of creation. Can you remember how that goes? It was also made up of 7 days. On the first day, God created light and dark, and he saw that it was good. On the second day, God created water, and he saw that it was good. On the third day, God brought up dry land from amongst the waters and created growing things, and he saw that it was good. On the fourth day, God created the lights in the sky, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and he saw that it was good. On the fifth day, God created things that swim in the waters and fly in the sky, and he saw that it was good. On the sixth day, God created things with legs that walk on the land, including human beings. And he saw that it was good. And on the seventh day, God rested in his creation and remembered and enjoyed all the good things. Now, I wonder where you would put these pictures in this story. There are no right or wrong answers. As this is a video, you will have to put up with my choices here. But if you have any ideas, please come down to the front and help me arrange the tiles there. I wonder if you would have put them in any different places. Our third story is the story of St. Paul, who preached the gospel all over the ancient world and wrote lots of letters to new churches that he set up with guidance about how to live as Christians. These letters still help us today, as they are now part of the Bible that we read every week. Again, I've got 7 pictures to help us. The first one, Saul was born. He was born in a place called Tarsus, which was a big coastal town. He grew up here, and when it was time, he left home. He left home and went to Jerusalem. He stayed in the temple studying his faith. He learned all about God and the Jewish law. One day he was travelling to a place called Damascus, and something amazing happened. He met Jesus in a brand new way, a flash of blinding light and a conversation. And Saul was converted to be a follower of Christ. Now, this changed his life a little bit, and he ended up getting in trouble with all kinds of people. One time, he had to escape from a city, and he went to hide in the desert. In the desert, he discovered more about who he was and what his work was going to be. His work for Christ was to spread the good news of Jesus' life, to start churches and to write letters to them, to encourage them and instruct them. He went on all kinds of journeys to different countries and met all sorts of different people. Unfortunately, some people loved him, but some people found him very challenging. He upset a lot of people in power. Eventually, he's arrested and he goes to Jerusalem for the final time. From Jerusalem, he moves to Rome to face charges in a Roman court. And this is where he dies. We're not quite sure how he died, but also he stays alive for us today through all the letters that he wrote to the churches that are now part of the Bible. Now we already have 2 stories woven together here. I wonder where you would put these pictures in these stories. Again, you'll have to put up with my choices here. But if you want to help at the front, then please do come down. What do you think? Perhaps you would make different choices. So what do we have here? A curious mess. All 3 stories are woven together. But it looks a bit confusing, doesn't it? What shall we do? How can we understand it when everything is mixed up? Well, I have some things here that might help. There we go. That's better. Now all of the stories are connected by these circles. And yet each one is still there by itself. This is a strange kind of 3-in-1 thinking. These circles, arranged like this, is a symbol for the Holy Trinity. Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. One God, and yet still 3 stories about God. We know each story tells us something different about who God is, and yet they are still all together at the same time. That's 3-in-1 thinking, a way to understand the Trinity. Now, I have a few questions for you to reflect on. I wonder which one of the 3-in-1 ways you like best as a way to come close to God. I wonder which one of the 3-in-1 ways is the most important way to come close to God. I wonder which of the 3-in-1 ways is most like the way you come close to God most naturally. The Trinity is not just about how we relate to God, but also how God relates to God's self. I wonder which one of the 3-in-1 ways God likes best to be with God. I wonder which one of the 3-in-1 ways is the way God most easily and naturally is with God. Remember that you don't have to hurry and you don't have to find the right answer. Maybe there are many answers. Look at all of this. I wonder how the stories do really fit together. Perhaps there are lots of different ways. I wonder how they are one and yet three. It is easy to see that they are, but it's hard to talk about it, isn't it? God is not so simple, and yet God is, and that is truly wonderful.